Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're re-diving deep into a topic that has fundamentally shaped human civilization as we know it. Domestication. What is it? Really, simply put, domestication is the process where we humans started to grow plants and look after animals, taming the wild world around us. But it's so much more than just farming. It's a story of partnership, selection, and incredible transformation that began thousands of years ago. You might be surprised to learn that the food on your plate, the clothes you wear, and even the pets you love are all products of this ancient process. Without domestication, our modern world just wouldn't exist. So, how did our ancestors turn wild, untamed nature into the crops and livestock we rely on today? It wasn't an overnight change. It was a gradual, painstaking process of observation and clever decision-making that unfolded over millennia. Think about it. Wild plants and animals are adapted for survival in their natural habitats, not necessarily to be useful to us. Wild wheat, for example, has brittle stalks that shatter easily to disperse seeds. That's great for the plant, but terrible for a farmer trying to harvest it. Wild animals can be aggressive, fast, and difficult to manage. So, early humans had to become the very first genetic engineers. They started selecting specific traits that made these plants and animals more beneficial for them. This process is called artificial selection. It's like nature's evolution, but with a human helping hand guiding the outcome. For plants, our ancestors looked for specific qualities. For instance, they chose plants that weren't prone to disease. Nobody wants a sick crop. They also picked the ones that produced the biggest grains. More grain means more food, which is a pretty simple and powerful motivator. Another crucial trait was having strong stalks. Why? Because a strong stalk can hold the weight of all those heavy, ripe grains without breaking, making harvest much more efficient. Once they found a plant with these desirable traits, they didn't just eat all the seeds. They were smart. They carefully preserved the best seeds from the best plants. Then, they would sow these selected seeds for the next season's crop. They were essentially ensuring that the new generation of plants would inherit those same fantastic qualities: the large grains, the strong stalks, the disease resistance. Over many, many generations of this selective planting, the plants began to change. They became fundamentally different from their wild relatives, tailored to meet human needs. The same principles were applied to animals. When our ancestors started managing herds, which animals do you think they chose for breeding? Not the most aggressive, fast, or skittish ones, that's for sure. They selected the ones that were relatively gentle and easier to handle. A calm sheep is much simpler to manage than a flighty one. An animal that is constantly trying to run away or attack you is a much better candidate for a life alongside humans. By consistently choosing the calmest and most manageable animals to breed, generation after generation, the very nature of these animals began to shift. They became more docile, less fearful of humans, and better suited for life in a managed herd or as a companion. This selective breeding process had profound effects on their physical appearance as well. Over time, domesticated animals became distinctly different from their wild ancestors. Let's take a look at a fascinating example. Pigs, wild boars. The ancestors of our domestic pigs are formidable creatures. They have long snouts, powerful bodies, and very large, sharp tusks for defense and digging. Now, think about a farm pig. They are generally larger in body mass, but have shorter snouts and much smaller teeth. Why the difference? For a wild pig, large teeth and horns are essential tools for survival, for fighting off predators and competing for mates. But for a domesticated pig, protected and fed by humans, these features are no longer necessary. In fact, large tusks could be dangerous for the farmer. So, through selection, these traits were gradually reduced. Here's a fun little quiz for you. Imagine you have two sets of teeth in front of you. One set is large, sharp, and looks pretty intimidating. The other set is smaller and more uniform. Which do you think belongs to a wild pig, and which to a domesticated one? If you guessed the large teeth belong to the wild pig, you're absolutely right. This physical difference is a direct and visible result of the domestication process. It's a powerful illustration of how human selection can reshape a species over time. It's crucial to understand that domestication wasn't a single event that happened in one place. It was a gradual, global revolution that took place independently in many parts of the world. The story of domestication began around 12,000 years ago, right around the time the last ice age was ending and the climate was becoming more stable. This new stability allowed human groups to settle down in one place instead of constantly moving, which created the perfect conditions for the slow, patient work of agriculture to begin. Think about the sheer variety of food we eat today, from the corn in your tortillas to the rice in your sushi, the potatoes you mush to the tomatoes in your sauce. Virtually all the plant produce that forms the basis of our diet is a result of domestication. Our ancestors, scattered across different continents, experimented with the local flora. In a fertile crescent in the Middle East, some of the very first plants to be domesticated were wheat and barley, around 10,000 years ago. These grains became the foundation of Western civilization. In China, farmers were cultivating rice along the Yangtze River. In the Americas, people were domesticating corn, beans, and squash. And it's the same story with animals. The first animals to be domesticated, right after the dog, which was a much earlier and unique case, were sheep and goats, also in the Middle East. These animals provided a reliable source of meat, milk, and wool. Soon after came pigs and cattle. In South America, people domesticated llamas and alpacas for transport and fiber. In Central Asia, the horse was domesticated, which revolutionized transportation, warfare, and communication. Each act of domestication was a major milestone for humanity. It provided a more stable and abundant food supply, which allowed human populations to grow and build permanent settlements. These settlements grew into villages, then towns, and eventually, the first cities. With a surplus of food, not everyone had to be a farmer or a herder. People could specialize in other crafts and skills, becoming artisans, builders, priests, and leaders. This division of labor is the bedrock of complex societies. So, the next time you sit down for a meal, take a moment to appreciate the incredible journey your food has been on. That simple piece of bread is the descendant of wild grasses, carefully selected and nurtured by countless generations of farmers. That glass of milk comes from a cow whose ancestors were wild aurochs, selectively bred for their calm temperament and milk production. The story of domestication is our story. It's a tale of human ingenuity, patience, and our profound connection with the natural world. It's a process that started 12,000 years ago and continues to this day. As we continue to develop new breeds and crop varieties, it's truly a fascinating subject, and we've only scratched the surface today. What part of the domestication story do you find most interesting? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more deep dives into the history that shaped our world. We'll see you in the next one.